Hi, and welcome to my seminar on the basics of self-publishing in 2020. My name is Dr. Daniel DeLille. I am a professor of chemistry at Nova Southeastern University, and I've been publishing my own work since 2017. I'm by no means an expert at this, and by no means great at this, but there are some tips and tricks I picked up along the way, and I'm going to show you the basics on how to do this. Now, how successful you are on this depends on how much work and effort you put towards this, how good your writing is, so on and so forth. I've not been a very successful self-publishing author. I've only sold 200 or 300 copies of all my books combined, but my focus hasn't necessarily been to sell books. It's been more to write the books and get them out there. The next stage in my career perhaps will be focusing on the marketing and getting more books sold. But I have been successful in publishing my books, and so I'm going to share with you the basics of doing that. Excuse me. So there are two sides of self-publishing that we're going to be taking a look at, the publishing side and the business side. So first, we're going to take a look at our publishing side. So there are basically two steps to publishing. You have traditional publishing and self-publishing. Until 15 or 20 years ago, all we had was traditional publishing. Self-publishing was something that really did not exist. It existed in a small bit with the vanity presses, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So with traditional presses, we have the trade presses, which are typically what you think of when you think of a publishing company. You have the top five, and then you have a bunch of different other presses underneath them. Boutique presses are smaller presses. They're like trade presses, but they're going to be probably more specialized. They may focus only on library reference books or only on Christian fiction, for example, things like that. Now, for past 15, 20 years, a lot of people have been jumping on this self-publishing bandwagon, where you become the publisher of your book. Along these lines, we do have these vanity presses. These have been along for a while now. And vanity presses are essentially presses where you pay them to publish your book. And you may go, well, why would I want to pay anyone to publish my book for me? The vanity presses are more for people that want to make small runs. They may want to maybe have 100 copies of the church cookbook to sell for a fundraiser, or to give away 20 books of family recipes at Christmas time, or anything like that. So they do have a purpose, but most people that are looking to publish are not looking to publish in a vanity press. So just be careful about that when you are looking for publishers, if you decide to go with some sort of publisher. Now, at the interface between these two, we have hybrid publishers. And a hybrid publisher is a combination between traditional publishing and self-publishing. Basically, the two kind of work together to get your book published. The hybrid press will put up some costs, but you also have to put up some of your own costs up front as well. They'll help you with marketing, with book release strategies and all of that, but still a lot of the legwork is your own. Today, I'm going to be talking about self-publishing, where you yourself are going to be the publisher. So why would I want to self-publish? There are three primary reasons why you would want to. The most reason why people choose to self-publish, I think, is because they retain control over their entire project. They get to decide what their book cover looks like. They have full control over the content, full control over the format of the book, the design of the book. And important for a lot of people is that they get control over the title. A lot of times a publisher will change the title of your book to suit their needs. Another huge advantage to self-publishing is speed. If I got a book contract tomorrow for one of my novels, it would probably be published in about a year and a half, maybe 2 years from now. But if I finished my book today, and after some editing, I could have that book published within a few weeks or a month if I wanted to. For really, really small books, I could write a book today and have it published tomorrow. So it can happen very quickly. The third reason is money. When it comes to self-publishing, you are going to retain most, if not all, of your royalties. It really depends on how you're distributing the book. For example, through Amazon, I can keep anywhere from 30% upwards of 70% of my retail price of the book, depending on how much I charge for it. With retail or regular publishers, traditional publishers, you're looking at taking home maybe 5 to 10% of that retail value. Um, you have a lot of people are taking a chunk out of that. You have the publisher taking a chunk out. You may have an agent taking a chunk out. Different libraries and other places may be, or not libraries, bookstores, excuse me. Other bookstores and whatnot may be offering the book at a reduced price. And so you don't get 5 or 10% of the cover price, you get 5 or 10% of the retail price, what they actually sold it for. All right, so you do keep most of your money if you self-publish. But there are a lot of disadvantages. The first one, it's hard work. Most of the hard work is marketing, is getting your book actually sold. There are some initial upfront costs, and it can go from relatively cheap up to quite expensive to self-publish. It all depends on what type of services you're doing on the book, the cover costs, all of that. A lot of self-published authors suffer from low sales. Most self-published books won't even sell 100 books. Now, that's not saying that you're guaranteed to get a lot of sales with a traditional publisher. You know, a traditional publisher will still can suffer from low sales as well. It can be a little difficult to get distribution, especially in the bookstores and to some degree the libraries, but there are ways around that. And finally, the last thing, and this is probably the biggest disadvantage aside from the hard work and marketing that you need to do, is quite frankly, a lot of self-published stuff out there is garbage. And so it's hard to be taken seriously as a self-published author sometimes. So what type of platforms can I use to self-publish? So you have your book ready, you're ready to go. What do you do now? By far the most popular is Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. And it does dominate the market. Most book sales do come through Amazon, but you do want to be careful with this. You can inadvertently be given all of your book rights to Amazon and not be able to distribute to other distributors such as Barnes & Noble or Apple. Now, this really comes into play if you use an Amazon ISBN. I will talk about ISBN numbers here shortly, but the thing is, if you get the free ISBN number through Amazon, you can only sell that book on Amazon. You cannot sell that book other places. All right, and so just be careful what you're signing up for when you do sign up for Amazon. And I'm not going to say it's tricky, but you just want to read all the fine prints, make sure you exactly know what you're signing up for. And they don't try to trick you. They do lay it out. It's straightforward. They tell you in very plain language what all the terms are. So you don't need to be a lawyer to interpret all of that. Other places where you can publish, Barnes & Noble's Nook, Apple iBooks are both very popular. There's probably a couple other ones out there as well I'm forgetting. And there's also ones that I call distributors. These ones are more like catch-all self-publishing platforms. I've not used any of these yet. I've done almost exclusively Amazon, but I am going to be moving into some of these other distributors, specifically Ingram Spark, as I'm going to give them a shot next time. The advantage of these is that they will often distribute to all of these guys, to Amazon, to Barnes & Nobles, to Apple. And so instead of logging into each of those separately, setting everything up separately, you can set it up once in Ingram Spark or Kobo or any of those, and it gets distributed automatically to those other platforms. The downside is that they do take a small cut for that. They do take a percentage of your royalties. All right, and so you are paying for that distribution for that convenience, but considering how many different places it could be out there, I think it's worth paying for that convenience. These places, depending on which one you choose, can also help you get your book into traditional bookstores and libraries as well. All right, so I do recommend that you look at these distributors and take a look at all these platforms and find the one that works best for you. There are a lot of blogs out there, a lot of videos that go over these different ones. So I recommend doing your research, find out which one's going to be the best fit for you. Okay. Now, a few things that you do need to have before you publish or as you're beginning to publish is an ISBN. This is essentially your book's identity, its fingerprint, so to speak. And I recommend just forking over the money and get your own now. All right. Be careful, make sure you read the fine print on any ISBN you buy. All right, so for example, I can buy my ISBN through Ingram Spark, one of those distributors we talked about on the last slide. It's a little cheaper than getting it through Bowker or Bowker, I'm not sure how you say it, right here, which is the place where you can buy ISBNs here in the United States. If you're in the UK or another country, that you have to buy them through a different website, through a different company. All right, but just read the fine print to make sure that you are buying an actual ISBN that you own and you control. Now, each version of your book has to have its own ISBN. So if you have a hardcover versus a soft cover, they each have to have their own ISBN. An ISBN is not necessary for an ebook. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. So, but you may have to buy 3 or 4 different ISBNs for one book. All right, so you want to make sure that you do your research in ISBNs and you know exactly how many you need and that you are buying them for what you need to buy them for. For example, like I said, with Amazon, you want to be careful because when I chose Amazon's ISBN for my novel Lunar One, I did not realize that that ISBN can only be used on Amazon. If I want to distribute my novel on Barnes & Noble or through any of these other sites, I have to get a brand new ISBN for that version. All right, and so it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, so you just want, again, read the fine print. Now, aside from the ISBN, there are some programs that are going to help you out as a self-published author. Most people, when they think of writing, they think of opening up their laptops and opening a Word document and typing away. And that's a great way to do it. That's how I wrote my entire novel, Lunar One. But when you're done writing and then you go to publish, it's not very straightforward. Formatting Word to publish a novel or any other book is tedious and challenging, to say the least. There are a couple of different writing programs out there that kind of do all of this for you. The most popular one, the one that I like and the one that I use, is called Scrivener. I'm not sure which way you say it, Scrivener, I've heard both. Available at this website here. I really like this one. It has a little bit of a learning curve, but there are a lot of free tutorials online to help you out. But basically what I did is I copy and pasted Lunar One into Scrivener, and then I was able to format it to get it published. Now, since it was my first time using Scrivener for this, there are some mistakes, and these are some mistakes in the formatting and things like that. So as I said, there is a learning curve, but it makes it so nice. I write all my books right in Scrivener now, and then I can publish them right away. It's very, very easy. I highly recommend it. You either need Scrivener or you need another program, because as I said, if you stick with Microsoft Office, while it's not impossible, it's going to take you a very long time to get that set up. Alternatively, you can always just write it in Microsoft Office and pay someone to format it for you. That cost is not very prohibitive. A lot of these formatters may only charge $50 to $100, somewhere in that range. If you're getting charged more than $100 for formatting and it's not a children's book or a cookbook, they're charging you way too much. You're getting screwed there. All right, and so the formatting is usually pretty quick if you know what you're doing. But Scrivener will alleviate a lot of those headaches for you. Now, the last 3 programs, I have tried them all out, but I did not use them. But they are all useful. So if you have any problem with grammar or anything like that, sentence structure and all of that, Pro Writing Aid and Grammarly are very nice. It's been a while since I've used these, but if I remember correctly, I think Pro Writing Aid, you have to upload the Word document into it and then it works that way. Grammarly is actually a tool that attaches itself to Word. It's actually part of Word when you open Word if you own Grammarly, if I remember right. And so it's automatically in there, automatically starts working as soon as you open Word. So that's one nice aspect of Grammarly. I did like Grammarly when I had it. I had it on my old laptop, but I never got it back onto my new laptop. Master Writing is another one that I really liked. I had it on my old laptop. I don't have it on my new laptop. So it's been a couple years since I've seen this one as well. But Master Writing, again, I think this is one where you have to upload the Word document into the program and then you can work with it. But this one actually helps you with the language aspect, not the mechanics, but the actual, hey, you know, this is a cliche here, or try using a different word here, or this is redundant, and things like that. So these are all very useful programs. There are the websites, check them out. They're useful tools if you need them and or want them. Now, one of the things that you absolutely have to pay for or get done if you're publishing your own book is cover design. If you're doing traditional publisher, the traditional publisher is going to have the own cover for you. They're going to come up with a title. They're going to do all of that for you. But as a self-published author, you need to do every step yourself. So almost always, this should be a professionally done cover. There are a lot of bad covers out there, and you can tell that people made them themselves and they're just horrendous. All right, and so chalk it up, get a professional cover. All right, now they can be pricey. We're going to go over prices here shortly, but you're talking hundreds of dollars here for a good cover. There are many websites that offer cheap covers. These are pre-made, and basically you pick the cover you like, you put in an order form with the title of the author, the title and the author's name, and the person who designed it will go ahead and put that text in there and send you the file. The downside to using these is that you may actually see your very cover on a different book. You know, that it's not like, you just bought this cover and no one else is ever going to use it again. That's not I think there was one website where they do that. I don't remember. But most of them, they will just keep selling the same cover. Also, what some people do is they will buy those covers and they'll just tweak them themselves. They look a little differently. But then when you're looking across a series of 5 different romance novels, for example, it may actually be the same cover on all 5 of them, just with different colors, maybe different shading aspects and things like that. And so there is a downside to that. The other downside is that sometimes these pre-made covers are as awful as the ones that people do themselves. All right, so you have to be careful. Obviously, these ones you're picking out, so you can be a little more careful with that. Now, with that said, as I said, you should never make your own book cover. Sometimes you can get away with it. I've definitely made my own book covers. I use Adobe Illustrator for that. And I use my own photography, or I buy stock photos from Canva or Shutterstock. There are other places as well. And some of them, I believe Canva, for example, you can actually create the entire book cover right in Canva and then export it. Now, I used Adobe Illustrator all through graduate school and my professional career, so I'm very familiar with Adobe Illustrator, so I just stick with that. The downside to this is be careful of the license that you buy. There are 2 different licenses. One license limits the distribution to, I believe, 500,000 copies. Now, most of us are sitting here going, well, if I sold 500,000 copies of my book, I walk down the street talking to myself. I can't imagine selling that many. But what if you do? All right. And so it's just one thing you need to be aware of. Just be careful. Realize that if your book does become a huge hit, you may be infringing upon your copyright use for that photo that you paid for. 1 or 2 photos through Shutterstock, I think it's under $50 for 2 photos. I'm not exactly sure. It's been a while since I've bought from them as well. Now, the other thing that you may want to outsource is the formatting of the book, the interior formatting. As I said, it's relatively cheap, and it does make a difference between a shoddy looking book and a nice looking book. My own book, Lunar One here, it's kind of disappearing in the background. Anyways, the interior formatting, I did my own in Scrivener. First time I did it, and the formatting is not perfect. There's some errors with it, but quite frankly, I don't care. If I did care, I could figure out how to fix it, I suppose. But when it comes to interior formatting, if you are doing it on your own, there are 3 sections you have to worry about. You have the front matter, your body, also known as the narrative, and the back matter. Now, front matter and back matter is much more extensive in nonfiction books than it is fiction books. So since we're talking about fiction, or primarily fiction, I'm going to focus on that. And so in fiction, you need the title page, Lunar One by Daniel T. DeLille. The copyright page. If you wrote it, you own the copyright. And speaking of copyrights, there is the US law that if you write it, you own the copyright, and it's copyright protected for you as soon as you write it. But it would still benefit you to register your copyright with the Copyright Office. I think it's $35. Now, this admittedly is not something I have done, but it's something I plan on doing for all of my past work and my future work here on out. It's just extra protection. That way, if you do have to take legal recourse. You do have that extra protection there. Okay? In nonfiction, or in, I'm sorry, in nonfiction books, you may have a table of contents, a preface, a foreword, etc. Body narrative, that's just your book. The back matter, self-published authors will almost always have some sort of acknowledgments back there. Actually, my acknowledgments, I believe, no, my dedication is in the front matter. So if you have a dedication, you put that in the front matter. Acknowledgments usually go in the back. You'll have an about the author section where you want to include your website. And you'll have a list of upcoming or other publications, maybe even a little extract from one of those. In nonfiction books, you may have things like a glossary, bibliography, discussion questions, an index, et cetera, et cetera. So you just want to make sure you have both front matter and back matter taken care of if you publish a book. So again, if you get Lunar 1, you can look at mine and see how they did it. Again, the formatting on the front matter is a little off, but I do have a title page there, I have a copyright page, and I have a dedication page, and then I jump into the novel. And the back of the novel, if I get there, I start with acknowledgments, a thank you, and a small little shout out to my next novel, Lunar 2, and ending with about the author. All right, so book covers, we were talking about book covers, and here is a selection of my book covers here. Lunar 1, my self-published novel, is up here. This book cover was professionally done. I hired an artist to do this one. The first is one that I bought from one of those book cover design websites. This one is not bad. I did buy another one for my short story Nanovax from them, and I don't know what convinced me to buy that one. That one is horrible. I wish I had it. I looked for it, but I wanted to show it to you, but it is not a good cover at all. All right, so not bad. The rest of these I actually made myself. All right, this one here is a little self-help book, motivation book that I have coming out probably by the end of the summer. And the stock image here, this clip art, I did purchase through Shutterstock, I believe, but the rest of it I designed in Adobe. All this I did in Adobe Illustrator myself, taking the picture myself. Same with both of these over here. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet. So one day I like this one better, the next day I like this one better. But I drew all these, made both of these in Adobe Illustrator, made the molecules using a program called ChemDraw, and then this picture is one I took myself in the middle. All right, so you can make your own covers. Just make sure they don't look too amateurish. For example, my cookbook covers are on the border of amateurish looking, so I'm a little nervous about those. I believe this one, I think, even though it's simplistic, I think it's exactly what I want. It's exactly what I had in mind. I think it looks professional, so I'm going to keep it as is. Same with these ones, my Science of Creating Fiction series, those I'm going to make myself. They're just not worth the cost. I don't anticipate making any money really from these books, so I don't really want to put any money into the cover if I don't have to. All right, so editing. First of all, I hear a lot of people confuse the terms revising and editing, and I even use them interchangeably sometimes. They are different. All right, revision is what you do to a story to make your story better, to fill it out, fill in the plot holes, rearrange it, get rid of scenes, add scenes, build characters, make the language pretty. All of that is done during revision. Once your story is finished and you have a final draft, then you move to editing the manuscript. All right, and the reason why the terms do get confusing is because people that we involve people in the revision process who we call editors. All right, and so they are editing, but the editing that they're doing is not proofreading, all right, or really correcting things. Those type of editors are different. And so let's actually look at these different types of editors now. So editing is a cost you will have to suck up for when it comes to self-publishing. And we'll talk more about that again in a slide or two. So we have different types of editors that we can bring along. The first one that some people use is a developmental editor. I use this for my novel. I'm glad I did. Basically in my novel, I knew where the weak spots were. I knew where it didn't work, and I had a pretty good idea what I had to do to fix it. I didn't want to though. Guess what? My 6-page report from my editor, boom, boom, boom. Everything I was uncertain about, she ripped apart. She was like, yeah, no, you need to fix this, you need to fix that, this doesn't work here, this doesn't work here, you need to flip those scenes, so on and so forth. And so she just kind of reaffirmed everything I needed to do, plus actually found a few things and gave a few suggestions that really helped during the revision process overall. So developmental editor is a professional beta reader. They evaluate the overall story. They're looking at the structure, looking for plot holes or inconsistencies. They're looking for your weaknesses and your strengths. They want to give you suggestions on what to add, what to take out, maybe moving things around, so on and so forth. Now, this is done either after the first draft or the first revision. You don't really want to bring in a developmental editor when you have the very final version done and you think it's perfect. By then, it's silly to bring in a developmental editor. You've done all this work to make this beautiful story, only to have to go back and do it all over again, okay? And so you want this relatively early if you're going to use one. Now you don't necessarily need to use one. You can also use a couple beta readers or something like that. The next type of editor you have is the copy editor or line editor. Now these are very similar yet different. So the copy editor is going to be more text focused. They're going to be looking at awkward language structure, run-on sentences, cliches, things like that. The line editor is going to look more at the tone and the style. They're going to make sure that the language that you're using, that beautiful sentence you thought was beautiful, is actually beautiful, and not just a bunch of jumbled words that really make little sense or are not coherent. Again, these are very, very similar. In fact, personally, if I'm having this type of editing done, I would expect the editor to do both copy and line editing for me. I want them to look at both the tone and style and to take a look at the text to make sure I'm not using awkward language or overused cliches or anything like that. Copy line editor should be done towards the end of your final version. You don't want to send them something too early because they might be changing and fixing things that you have no intention of putting in the final novel, and that's going to cost you money. And so you definitely want them to look at this when your final version is complete. And now once you have, if you decide to use them, you bring that all back, you listen to their suggestions, you fix the language, and now you have a final version. This is the only type of editor that you absolutely 100% need to dish out the money for. And these are going to be your proofreaders. These are going to be the ones who are doing the line-by-line edit. They're going to be looking for grammatical errors, typos, formatting issues. They want to look at the final print version of the book to make sure it looks appealing. And this is done right before you actually print or publish your book. And so you have no intentions of changing another word in the novel. You just need to make sure there are no mistakes in it. Okay. So we've been talking about all these things that cost money. What type of money are we talking about here? All right, so your minimal costs for self-publishing include the purchase of an ISBN number. Now you can buy a single ISBN for $125. Again, if you only have that one paperback version of your book, you're not gonna have a hardcover or anything like that. This may be your good option, maybe a good option for you. A great option is to buy 10 ISBNs for $295. It's $29.50 each, a lot cheaper than $125. And then you have 10 of them, and you can use them as needed. You don't have to use them all immediately. And they do go up from there. You get 50, 100, so on and so forth. You also want to get that professional cover design. Now, those generic professional covers, the ones you can get from those websites where they just put your name and title in there, those are less than $100 usually. Anywhere from $20 up to $80 is not atypical. Over $100 is a bit strange, and I would only do that if I was absolutely in love with the actual cover. Now, for a good cover, someone who may not be too experienced, but they're a good artist, they know what they're doing, they're just kind of at the beginning of their career, they're going to be charging a little more on the low side, and you should expect to pay anywhere from $100 to $500 for that cover. Now, for a high-end book cover, someone who's been in the business a while, they've won awards, things like this, you are now looking at a heftier price tag, anywhere from $500 upwards of about $1,200 for a book cover. It really should not cost more than about $1,000 or so. Lunar One, the cover was $600. A lot of the artwork was public domain artwork that he used to put together to create the novel, or the cover, as well as his own artwork. So that did, I think, cut down the cost a little bit on that. As I said, you may wish to have professional editing services, depending on what degree of editing you want. You at least want the proofreader. So I paid for developmental editing on Lunar One. According to Google, you're looking at about $40 to $60 an hour at about 1 to 5 pages per hour. That seemed a bit on the high side for me. I'm an excellent developmental editor. I mean, I absolutely loved what she did with my book. And she cost me 750 pounds. I didn't realize I was buying her services in pounds at the time. I had said, oh, 750 bucks, that's not so bad for a developmental editor. That's actually pretty good. And then when I went to go pay her, I realized, oh, I'm paying a lot more than $750. It ended up being about $950. I think it was $929 or something like that in the end. And the novel at the time was just over 50, I think it was 53,000 words. It was somewhere between 50,000 and 53. Definitely was not over 53. So it was about 200 pages, 210 pages or so. And so that cost me about just shy of $1,000. Copy editing is just a little bit cheaper. And proofreading is about 1 to 3 cents per word. More than that, you are looking at a rush job. All right, so if you need this turned over in 24 to 48 hours, then you might be paying upwards of 3 to 10 cents per word. You do not want to be paying 3 to 10 cents per word. All right, so make sure you have the time you need to get the proofreading done. Now, I paid a little community college student $100 to do Lunar One. You know, wanted to help out the local community, help a kid, you know, in college. Thought I was paying him a decent amount. You know, $100 for a college kid, pretty good. It was a shit job. I just trusted them. I thought they would do great. When I had published my novel, marketed it and all this, and I glanced through it, you know, and I saw them, you know, she had picked up a lot of mistakes, so I thought she had done a good job. And then a few months later, I decided, oh, I want to reread the book because I'm preparing to write Lunar 2. Rereading it, and I'm just finding typos everywhere. I'm upset. I fix them, republish it. Needless to say, a few months later, maybe 6 months later, a year later, I say, well, I keep putting off working on Lunar 2. I better go back and reread Lunar 1, make sure I have it down before I start Lunar 2. I found even more mistakes. And so I went through that reading very, very carefully. And this time, I believe I caught most, if not all, the mistakes. And so I've republished it again with it fixed. But who knows how many reviews I lost when I had this novel out there that someone may have loved or really wanted to read, but couldn't because they couldn't handle the typos, or they did finish it, but they don't feel like they could leave a good review because of all the typos. I did get a couple of nice reviews on this, and those people were so generous that they ignored the typos. So the short of the story here is make sure you get an excellent proofreader. That you need it done. It could seriously jeopardize your sales and your reviews if you do not. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and look at the business side of publishing. So building a publishing business, an author business, I should say, not a publishing business, but your own authorpreneur business, so to speak, is where all the work is. This is why a lot of people fail in this industry and cannot write full time. So the very first thing you need, though, before you can do anything else, is your brand. What makes you different from other people? What distinguishes you? So mine, I'm a little all over the place. I write all sorts of different types of books. And so basing my brand based on the type of books I write does not work. A lot of authors, that's how they base it. You know, if they write romance novels, romance is going to be part of their brand somehow. I can't remember her name, Marie, the happy lady, the lady that has, oh, does this give you joy or not? If it doesn't give you joy, throw it away. That's her brand. You know, does it give you joy or not? Throw it away. She's tidy. She's bringing in joy, all of that. All right. And so you need a brand of some kind. Since I'm all over the place, I'm a chemist, I'm a writer, I'm a professor. And so I kind of made that as my brand. So I'm the author, chemist, professor. And all of those three words there, those three words kind of encompass my brand. So I write science fiction. So it kind of brings in the chemist aspect a little bit. I write cookbooks, I write nonfiction books, I write self-help books. So I'm all over the place there. Once you have your brand, you can start building your audience. Now, building an audience is difficult. I have not been very successful in this. I've tried a lot of the tricks. One place to start is online. Yeah, it's where most of us start. Well, it is the place to start, not a place to start. Most of your audience is going to be found online. You can build an audience online by simply publishing on these sites that people go to read stories about people. Medium, for example, is a great site, and you can actually get paid money based on how many people read it and how strongly it gets interacted with, so on and so forth. I made about 20 bucks off of Medium over a couple of articles. They pay pretty well. So, I mean, 20 bucks isn't much, but considering only a handful of people read the articles, it made pretty good money. But this tends to be more nonfiction. I've not had very much success with my fiction on here. However, Wattpad is for fiction. And if you know the book and movie The Martian by Michael Weir, I read somewhere, I think this, I could be incorrect about this, but I believe he had his start on Wattpad, or maybe it was his website that he also tied into Wattpad or something like that. But if I remember the article I read correctly, he built his entire audience essentially through Wattpad. And his book, The Martian, he self-published it. He did all the own marketing, and it became an instant bestseller, all because of his marketing techniques. A couple other are Scribophile, Booksy, and there are other ones out there. I don't know much about these other two. I haven't used them, but they're very similar to Wattpad from what I understand. So these are places where you can begin to build your audience. But before you actually begin building your audience, you need something that the audience can interact with, more than just a name, more than just a Twitter profile or something like that. You do need a website. Websites are not expensive. You can even get some for free. My website costs me about 200 bucks a year for it when it's all said and done. I publish through GoDaddy. GoDaddy is great. The only downside to GoDaddy is their website builder. It's extremely limited. You have to follow these templates, and there's not much flexibility with those templates. But they can build excellent sites. We'll take a look at my site here in just a moment. WordPress is free. I believe it's actually GoDaddy's kind of free site. I'm not exactly sure if they're related or not, but I think at one point they were. If they still are, I'm not sure. A company I just found out about that I think is excellent, if I didn't have my own website, I probably would go to them to build my website, is called PubSite. And so if you have no idea where to begin in building your website, you don't know where to go, what to do, I highly, highly recommend PubSite. Wix is another one I've seen. I think they're a lot like GoDaddy. They might have a little more freedom in the layout of your website, but I don't know much about it. But you will need a website. The few things that you definitely need on your website is some sort of landing page where you'll have an email sign up, social media links, and you need the website to match your brand. If you sell romance novels, you're not going to have pictures of space and black and blue background like mine is. All right, your background, you're going to have maybe flowers and romantic pictures and maybe pink and red as your colors and things like that. All right, if you're doing comedy, you might want your website to be fun and lively, like yellows and oranges and reds and things like that. So you want it to match your brand. You want an About Me page. You want people to have some place where they can go and get to know a little bit about you. Remember, people want to get to know the person that they're reading about, especially if they become a fan. They want to know about them. Just like you, if you have a fan, a favorite author, a favorite actor, something like that, you want to know a little bit about their lives. What do they like? What do they don't like? Where were they born? Things like that. Also, you may be asked to give a bio sometime if you're at a speaking convention or something. You have your bio right on your website then. And finally, you want to have a page where you talk about your books and or they can buy your books. And there are other optional sections. You can have a blog. You can have specific pages for specific book launches. We'll look at one of those in just a moment. And you can have secret pages. Secret pages that you only allow certain people to have that address to so that they can have access to material that you don't want anyone going to your website to have access to. Another way to build your audience is through blogging. You can either blog through your website or you can guest blog on other websites. I do both. I have a blog on my website and I guest blog with the Florida Writers Association. Blogging is not as easy as it sounds. Largely because it's one of those words of advice that almost everyone gives you. Oh, you're going to be a self-published author, you've got to blog. Okay, but what do I blog about? I don't know what I'm going to blog about. And actually, my blog is called The Blob because I just talk about whatever I want. There's no theme to my blog. My blog is right now is primarily writing tips and things like that, but I do my own writing on there. I'll have excerpts of my book. I might put recipes on there. Anything really. So it's just a big mishmash of stuff. Where most people will go with this blogging as writers is, oh, I'm going to blog about writing. Great. Like I said, that's what I largely blog about. The downside is that's almost the go-to topic for everyone that's doing these type of blogs. Another popular blog item is blog things related to your genre. And so since I'm a science fiction writer, I might blog about, what are my top 10 favorite science fiction movies in the 2000s or in the 1900s, or favorite novels, science fiction novels. How does a spacewalk work? Maybe something about chemistry, since I'm a chemist, maybe a little introduction to nanochemistry. It can really be anything. Anything that's going to be related to your writing in one way, shape, or form. And so that's really the only rule, is that you do have to tie it back to your writing somehow. It's either going to be about writing or something that's related to your writing. But again, here you're looking for exposure. All right, and so what I want to do here is go ahead and let's just take a quick look at my own website. All right, and so what we have here with my website is when you first come, this is the landing page, and I automatically have this welcome pop-up that says, hey, please sign up for my, my newsletter and my email sign-up sheet. And also, if you would like, take the Pagoda quiz. And if I click on that, I actually go to a BuzzFeed where they can take a little quiz to figure out which pagoda in Lunar 1 that you would join, if based on your personality and everything. All right, and so we click off from that, or go sign up now, and it takes me right down here to the sign up, okay? But here is my landing page. We see that I have my brand right here. The brand doesn't necessarily have to be a slogan or anything like that. This entire thing is screaming my brand. The blue and black scream space and science fiction to me. And it matches this picture right here very beautifully, which is of course saying science fiction. Here, though, you know, with the saying author, chemist, professor, kind of like, okay, so I'm on a page of someone who is an author, a chemist, and a professor. So everything on this website can be related to one of those three words. I have a little welcome. I'm showing off my honorable mention on the Writers of the Future writing contest. I'm very proud of that, and that gives me some legitimacy in my writing career. It's saying, hey, my writing is good enough that it has beaten out 95% of the other people in this writing contest. So I'm in the top 5% of thousands of people that submit to this contest. In fact, I'm probably in the top 3% or greater. And so there I have saying, hey, I do know a little bit what I'm talking about. Next is just a link to my blog. I also have the blog up here as well. Newsletter sign up. I have a free download. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll offer a free download after they sign up for the newsletter, which I do as well. You can get a free copy of my novelette, The First, that you can also buy for 99 cents on Amazon. But I thought, I'm just going to give a free download for anyone who wants it. I'm a professor. I want people to get resources from me, to be able to learn from me. And so I created a little novel guide, just a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-page PDF, I forget how big it is, that people can download for free. No obligation, nothing. Just me being a nice guy. Oops, sorry about that. And finally, I have my contact information and links to my social media here. Now we go up here and we can go to my books. We'll go through these a little bit quicker now. And I just have my books laid out here with links to buy them. All my books right now are only available on Amazon because I've been lazy in that way. About me, I have my short little bio here. I have a longer resume here if people are interested more in my scientific background and maybe some of my writing credentials. And I also have a few interests, so people can get to know who I am aside from my writing. All right. Also, one of my secret pages is called bios. And I can go to bios, and if I'm ever at a conference or something and someone says, hey, I need a quick 75-word bio from you, I can go to this website and right here I have a 75-word bio, 50-word bio, so on and so forth. So I have them already set here for me. It's a secret page. It's not a page I have that you can access from the main directory, but I know it's there and I can directly link to it. Now here is the actual blog. On my landing page, I had a little snippet of the blog here, but here it is. I have monthly writing tips, my Nanovax Honorable Mention Award. I have some writing excerpts here, so if you're interested in any excerpts from Lunar 1, I have them on my website here. I just redid my blog starting the new year, so there's not a whole lot on here, but this is what I have so far. And I also can break them down by various categories, so people can say, hey, I want to see any blog related to the moon. And I have a blog on January 7th that says, hey, 7 fun facts about the moon. There's a blog idea, okay? My novel takes place on the moon, Lunar 1. And so I wrote a blog about, hey, 7 interesting facts about the moon. So, you can really blog, as long as the blog entry is related to your writing or your career, you're golden. Now, as I said, you can also create your own specific book landing pages here. And so one I have here is my inspirational self-help book type book coming out. And so I have a landing page here where it kind of introduces the concept of the book. I will have information on how to buy it here once I have it published. And I have some downloads related to the book here. And of course, you always want to try to leave with a subscription and contact me wherever you can on these pages. Any way to get the audience to contact with you. And finally, I have a news page, and it's not very exciting at this point. Okay? But that's one way that you can create an author website. All right, so let's go back to our presentation. And get this finished up. I believe we are getting towards the end now. All right, and so as I mentioned a couple of times, the thing that makes self-publishing so difficult is the business aspect, the marketing. Every sale you make is because of effort you have put forward. Now, the dirty secret is if you go with a trade publisher, most of them are going to expect you to do your own marketing as well. All right, a lot of people think, oh, if I get traditionally published, they're going to market my book for me. I don't have to do a thing. And they will do some minimal marketing. The more they expect to sell, the more marketing they'll do. So for Stephen King, they'll do a lot of marketing. For Daniel DeLille, they're going to do nothing. All right, and so it's all up to you. And so there are a lot of different ways you can go around trying to build your audience and get these sales done. You want to attend any type of event you can get yourself in front of people, in front of fans. All right, so book signings is an excellent way to do this. A lot of writing conferences will have bookstores where you can just give copies of your book to that bookstore. They will sell it throughout the conference for maybe 10 or 15% of the retail price, and then you'll get the rest of that price. You can do blog tours. A blog tour is a lot like a book tour. You know, back in the day, authors would do book tours, and they still do. You know, they go from bookstore to bookstore doing a reading and a signing. But in today's online age, a lot of people do this book signings or these book tours online, and they do blog tours. And so they will try to find all the big name blogs in their field. So for me, for example, I'd want to find out the people who blog about science fiction books, the ones that have the largest followers. They have tens of thousands of people that subscribe to their RSS feeds or whatever. You know, and I want to try to be a guest blogger on their blog to talk about my book. I have done interviews with 2 or 3 blog websites like this about Lunar One, and that's often how it entails, is that you'll be interviewed. They'll send you a bunch of questions, you send it back to them, and they'll post it on their blog. Don't think I've ever made any sales from any of my blog tours, but again, the key is you just want to get your name out there, get in front of as many people as possible. A key to getting your book marketed, and to book marketing rather, are the book reviews. You need book reviews. They are not easy to get. I don't know, it flabbergasts me when I see people have lots of reviews, because as I said, I've sold 200 or 300 copies of Lunar One, and I've gotten a total of 3 reviews on it. 2 on Amazon and 1 on Goodreads, I believe. I think it's 3. Again, as I mentioned previously, I think a lot of that is because those first releases had so many typos that even if people liked it, they didn't want to leave a review about it because they would have to mention the typos, or they felt they may have need to mention the bad typos. All right, and so there are places where you can submit your book for review. Some of them you pay for the review. That doesn't mean you're paying for a good review. It just means you're paying for a review, whether it's good or bad. Other ones are going to be, hey, you can submit our book. We may or may not review it. Another thing is sometimes you can submit to these self-published book contests. And I've actually submitted this to a couple contests this year, my first time doing so. And some of those contests, as part of the entry prize or entry fee, will include a free book review with that you can use for advertisement. All right, and so you definitely want to have some sort of book review. I'm fortunate I did get a great book review and I use it a lot. Let me see, it's the snippet that I use from this, it's over here so I have to read it, is the story is compelling and suspenseful, ... It is every bit as fun and exciting as books by Orson Scott Card. All right, so that was huge. I'm like, wow, someone just compared my book to Orson Scott Card. All right, definitely want to include that in my PR material. And that's what you're looking for. You want these review snippets so that you can promote your book. Because everyone's going to say their book is great, but you want other people to say it's great. A new thing, or I don't know how new it is, but it's relatively new, that's coming out are these book trailers. They're 30 seconds or so, maybe 60 seconds. I think 60 seconds is a bit too long. Oftentimes, there's just some music playing in the background, and it's a lot of pictures, and it's like a movie trailer, but for your book. I've never seen one where they've had someone read part of the book, or maybe read the back part of the back cover of the book to tell you what it's about. All I ever see are just these moving pictures and, ooh, buy my book. But I believe they can be done. A lot of people swear by them. It's a great way to build your audience on websites such as YouTube. A lot of people don't think, oh, I can build an audience on YouTube as a writer. Sure you can. All right, and this is one way you can do that. Of course, if you can get your book into bookstores and libraries, it's great. Again, you're trying to build an audience, maybe not necessarily make money. All right, so you might go, well, if I get a book in a library, I'm making no money from that. People are getting it for free. That's great. You want them. You want them to like the book, to go to your website, sign up for your newsletter, so they'll buy your next book. All right. And so getting your book wherever you can is useful. Getting in bookstores and libraries, as I said, as an independent publisher is difficult. The easiest way to do that is to use one of those quote unquote distributors I talked about, such as Ingram Spark. They do have some distribution into those markets. Now, you will likely need to spend money on advertisements. I have spent money on advertisements. I have sold a couple of books from the advertisements, not many. but they do work a little bit. Amazon is a great way. That's where I've gotten most of my sales from. I've gotten 1 or 2 sales using Facebook. I've never used BookBub, but a lot of people swear by that. And of course, there are going to be other ones that you can use as well. In fact, I just submit to that one. No, I didn't. Okay. And of course, when let's talk about building an audience, you may have automatically thought of social media. And it's odd I maybe didn't start with that, but yes, social media is one of the biggest platforms you can use to build your audience. I recommend using at least 2 different social media, and I recommend that you have different accounts for your writing career. Don't use the same account as your personal account. Some people do. It's okay. I think you just have to be a little more cautious about what you may post and share if it's your personal account as opposed to your professional account. Everyone, however, should have a Goodreads account. Goodreads is like the Facebook for Amazon. And so tens of thousands of Amazon readers interact on Goodreads every hour. So it's a great way to interact with people. As I said, I got 1 book reviewed on there. So that person found my book and read it through Goodreads. All right. And so it does behoove you to get on there. I use Facebook and Twitter, but I'm also old fashioned. A lot of authors have moved to Instagram, and I'm sure the next authors are now all moving into TikTok and Snapchat, whereas I'm just now getting into Instagram this summer. So I'm a little behind, I guess, but get out there. Use as many as you can, at least 2, plus your Goodreads. How about some resources? So, I'm giving you a lot of information here, and it's very general information because we have a lot to go over in about an hour's worth of time. So where can you find more information, especially for someone that lives in Florida? Well, my favorite magazine out there is Writer's Digest. I love when it comes in. I just devour it cover to cover. But they have a Writer's Digest University where you can take courses. I just took a weekend course last weekend for $179. And it was on writing science fiction and fantasy, and it focused on 6 specific aspects about that. And it allowed me to work on a query letter and have an agent look at it and comment on it, give me a review back on it. So it's very beneficial. And so they have a lot of those type of courses you can take. Highly recommend you take advantage of those. They're great for networking as well. As I said, in Florida, you have the Florida Writers Association. There should not be that right there. It's not a possessive. I always do that with this. I'm going to fix that now. Just bugs me. Sorry about that. Okay, so the Florida Writers Association at floridawriters.net is your resource if you're a Florida writer. They have a lot of webinars on there. A few of them are free. Some of them are nominal fees, 10 or 15 bucks. They have a lot of workshops that take place during the year. They usually have an annual book signing, even though they did not have one this year. They have the annual conference in October, which I'm hoping to go to this year. It's always in Orlando. And it's always the weekend of my birthday. So this year, maybe my birthday present to myself. But it's a great resource. I've done a few of the in-person workshops with Florida Writers Association. Phenomenal. Again, the networking opportunities there are amazing. I've met a lot of great authors through there. NaNoWriMo, this stands for National Novel Writing Month. And this takes place in November. And the concept here is that you have 30 days to write a 50,000 word novel. That's 1,667 words per day to get that novel written. It's great. I wrote Lunar 1 during NaNoWriMo 2018 and got it done. I've attempted and failed both NaNoWriMos the past 2 years. Academia, November is a bad month. It's right before finals. It's crunch time. It's just horrible. But they also have these camps in April and July, which are less stringent, and you can kind of set your own word counts, your own goals. You can work on whatever you want. All it is an online community. You have online support, and it's fun. You're competing with yourself, you're competing with others, you have local groups, and you're trying to get your local regional group to get the highest word count as possible. It's just a lot of fun. Highly recommend it, especially if you need some help and motivation, some group effort to get your writing done. Readsy is another great resource. Readsy has a lot of educational materials available, a lot of them for free. But it's primarily a place where you can connect with designers, formatters, and editors. So when I said, you need a book designer, you may need a book formatter, you definitely need a proofreader, a developmental editor, all those, you can get them through Reedsy. This is where I found both my cover designer and my developmental editor for Lunar One. And finally, this is specific to speculative fiction writers, i.e. science fiction or fantasy writers. There is the Writers of the Future contest. This is done through the L. Ron Hubbard Foundation. It's run, it's not part of the Church of Scientology, but it's unofficially associated with it. But don't worry, there's no Scientology stuff if you're worried about that. I know some friends are like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that. That's the Scientology one. They're going to try to convert you and bring you in and da-da-da. And no, they don't do anything like that, for one. And for two, don't diss other people's religions, all right? You know, just that's not cool. All right, and so don't let that scare you if you think Scientology is a scary word, or you're afraid that you're going to get on some mailing list and they're going to try to clear you for the rest of your life. Don't worry about it. The people at the Writers of the Future contest are amazing. I love these people. Most of the judges and all that are not even affiliated with the Church of Scientology, though the coordinator and the contest actually are. All right, but it's great. It's a free contest. You can enter this contest 4 times a year, every 3 months. Most contests cost a little bit of money, so this one being free is great. Thousands of people enter this each quarter. And they have 3 winners. Those 3 winners get money. Then they have finalists and honorable mentions. I've been submitting on and off for the past couple of years and just got an honorable mention from them. So I was very happy about that. You can read about my reaction to that on my blog if you wish. And another nice thing about them is that they just created an online workshop for free. They did this just as COVID was coming about and we all were starting to self-isolate. So they were doing this as a way to, people had all this free time in their hands. They said, hey, let's help people. Let's put this workshop together. So I thought it was great of them to do so. And it's a pretty good workshop. I'm about 60% done with it. So I recommend that as well. And there's just so many other resources out there too. A lot of workshops. The Great Courses, I think is what it's called. I bought 3 courses through them and have used them. Phenomenal. One on science fiction, one on dystopian literature, and another one on how to write a novel. Oh, and a 4th one on how to be a self-published author. All right, so I've actually ordered 4 through them. Great. All right, so what do you need in your author toolbox? We've been giving you a lot of information here, and there are some minimal requirements. First thing you need is a website. You need an email with that website. Sure, you can use a Gmail or something, but it just looks a little more professional if you have that website. So for example, my email is dan@danieldelille.com. Drop me an email if you'd like, okay? You need a product to sell, a book. It doesn't have to be released yet. It could be, hey, this book will be out in 6 to 12 months. I want to get the news out there now, pre-order it or get the interest out there, that's fine. But you do need something to sell. You need 2+ professional social media accounts, plus the Goodreads account. You need a headshot. You don't need to be a professional headshot. I paid a local kid who was trying to save up money to go to college. He was an artist and a photographer. I paid him $100, which was way more money than he even charged me for those headshots, but he put in 2 days with me. He did an excellent job. It was freezing weather outside. So if you ever see my headshots, those were taken in like a polar vortex, frozen tundra. I was freezing my ass off. But the headshots, you could use your iPhone. You can have your brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever take it for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be professionally done, okay? But you do need a headshot that looks good. And you need some sort of author bio. Some recommended items, I recommend you have a business card. You never know when you might need to give one out, and it does give you that extra sense of professionalism. You should start collecting promotional items, table displays, free giveaways, copies of your book, etc. I'll show you some examples here. I use Vistaprint for many of these items, but not all of them. And if your business is starting to grow, like you're actually beginning to make real money from this, you want to start treating it like a business. All right, which means you should probably get a business bank account and you should pay your quarterly taxes. Right now, I'm paying taxes on $50 worth of books for the entire year or of income or $100 worth of income over a year. So I don't pay my taxes quarterly. I take that little bit of a bite when I pay my annual taxes, but you don't want to take that bite if you are actually making real money off from this. All right, and also getting a business bank account protects your personal finances. So if someone sues you and you don't have a professional bank account, a business bank account, they can sue you for your personal stuff. So you want to make sure that you separate your personal finances from your business finances if you start making any type of real money here. So here's some examples of different promotional materials I have made or I've planned on making and didn't quite get there yet. Bookmark front and back. Here's my business card, the front part of it. Here was an ad I had paid for when I first published Lunar One for something called Kindle Scout, which no longer exists, by the way. Here's an ad I made myself in Publisher using this and combining my own stuff. This was a huge thing I had at a book signing to promote myself and my work. A huge display here that I, again, made myself in Adobe. And here was an Amazon ad that I had purchased for Lunar One a couple years ago. So here's my table at a book signing I went to last year. You can see copies of my book there, a display of it, different signs for different information. I gave them a link so they could buy the ebook of Lunar One if they wished. Here's the QR code to go take that Go-To quiz I showed you when we went to my website. Request for an email sign up or if they want to be a beta reader. This little sign right here with a bunch of information, that's what this is right here. Originally, it was going to be a rack card with a front and a back that people could take with them, but I ran out of time and money, so I just made this one and had to print it up very quickly. I had a free giveaway, little candies there. There's my sign-up sheet. I was going to be away from the table a couple of times. I did a panel, and there was another reason. There's another time I was going to be away. I forget what it was for. Oh, I was doing an interview. I was doing a webinar interview and an in-person panel. And so that's what this sign right here was, just saying, hey, I'm going to be away from the table during that time, so don't worry about it. So, and all of these were designed in Adobe Illustrator by myself. But you, of course, could have other people do it. Oh, I take it back. These three right here, I made in PowerPoint. So if you're familiar with PowerPoint, you can even make stuff in PowerPoint, just like this. All right, so our last slide here is what is the typical day in the life of an entrepreneur? Now, first of all, I've been using this word once or twice. What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who wants to use their writing to make money. All right, so they want to get books out. They want to make that money. Eventually, that's my goal too. I'm just being very slow at it. But any entrepreneur is going to break up their day into two sections. You're going to have your writing time. You're going to have your business time. And look at this breakdown here. Most entrepreneurs spend more time on their business side of everything than they do on actually making their product. So writing for 2 to 4 hours. Now, writing is not all writing. Now, what I consider writing is spend about 1 to 2 hours a day writing or revising/editing your work. Doesn't matter, it's all considered writing, 1 to 2 hours of that. Then I spend 1 to 2 hours reading and or some type of education. So the one rule of becoming a writer is they say, oh, you need to read in your field. You need to read your genre and you need to know it. And so that's what I mean by reading. I'm reading a couple different books right now. I'm reading one by Pierce Brown, his Red Rising series, and I'm reading the new one, the new Hunger Game one, this Songbird and Snakes or something like that. Both excellent. Red Rising, I'm on the third one, almost finished with that. And the Songbird and Snakes, I'm about 60% done with. 70% maybe. So both great books, but I'm reading them and I'm studying them as I'm reading them. I'm studying why they're good, why they're being bestsellers, why I keep turning the page. And that is educational for me. But I also may, instead of be reading for fun, I may be reading a book on how to write a setting or how to create a scene, how to build characters. I may be doing an online class, an online seminar, anything that's going to further my education as a writer and an author. So all that I lump into writing, even though the actual writing part may only be 1 to 2 hours a day. The business part, that's going to be where you're doing everything to build your platform and make money. So you're sending out emails, responding to emails, you're making newsletters, you're updating your website, you're creating ads, you're updating your social media, you're doing your business research, et cetera, et cetera. Your social media, you should be posting relevant material at least once a day. I'm really bad at this, by the way, really bad. It's something I need to improve upon. By relevant material, I mean stuff that's related to your writing. So, hey, oh, there's this great article for upcoming writers. I'm going to share that. Wow, look at this article about the moon. I'm going to share that. Ooh, look, scientists just discovered this new form of exotic matter. I'm going to share that. Oh, here's a new vegan recipe. That looks amazing because I write a vegan cookbook. Boom, I'm going to share that. And so anything you do put on those professional social medias need to be related to your brand. And you should be posting at least once a day, maybe twice a day. What you should not be using social media for is spamming. Once a blue moon, I will post, hey, buy Lunar One. But I'm not putting that on there every day. I'm not even putting it on there every month. All right, just once a blue moon, I'll say, hey guys, don't forget, you know, and aside from all this content I'm giving you, this great stuff I'm sharing and posting and all that, I do write. And so if you're interested, take a look at my novel. All right, so all that is going to be your business. And so I'm a professor, and I'm fortunate enough that I am not required to teach during the summer. So I have 2 months during the summer where I can devote all my time to writing. So my typical day is something like this. You know, I spend about 8 hours a day working, so it is a full-time job. People, you know, I tell people I'm a writer, and they go, "Oh, must be nice." You know, oh wow, you spend what, an hour a day writing, an hour or two? No, I spend 8 to 9 hours a day on my career. Thank you very much, just like you do. You know, I usually wake around 6:30, and I wake up, eat, exercise, walk the dog, etc. Then I'll do my writing and editing for the first couple of hours. I'm most creative in the morning. That's why I like to spend my highest energy time and my most creative time doing the creative work. So I do that right away before my brain is spent from anything else. Then I'm going to relax some reading and or education. Take a break for lunch, and then the afternoons I spend on the business aspect. I'll start with some of the fun stuff, social media, websites, audience building, all that. Then I have an afternoon tea around 3 o'clock, have a cup of tea, maybe a snack. And then I'll come back and spend a couple more hours doing non-audience building related business. Maybe creating an ad, making a new giveaway, tweaking a book cover, something like that. Now, when I'm actually working during the semester, I try to devote about 3 to 4 hours of my work day, or of my day, to writing work. And so I like to get about an hour of writing done in the morning. I try to get to work early and get it done at work. Sometimes I do it from home. Over lunch, I'll spend about 20 to 30 minutes working on writing or something else related to the business. And then when I have my afternoon tea, I'll spend that 20 to 30 minutes on my social media stuff or something else like that. And then when I get home, or perhaps when I'm done at the day before going home, I'll spend 1 to 2 more hours writing or doing business related stuff. All right, so even if you have a full-time job, you should, if you want to build a writing career, should still find time to spend 3 to 4 hours a day on that. That does mean if you work a full-time job 8 hours a day, that you are working 12 to 13 hours a day. All right, well, that's life of a professor. So I'm working 12 hours a day plus throwing on an additional 3 to 4 hours, all right? But if it's what you want, it's what you will do. And if you truly love your writing career, then those 3 to 4 hours are spent doing something that you enjoy and love and not actual work. Okay. And with that, that's pretty much the end of my presentation. I hope that gave you a nice overview. Again, it's not exhaustive by any means. This is just a very rough introduction to how you can begin to build your own authorpreneur career. If you have any questions or wish to contact me, go ahead and contact me through my website, dan@danieldelille.com. Again, my website, if you missed it, is at the very beginning of this presentation. Let me pop that up there, right down here, danieldelille.com. Again, my email is just dan@danieldelille.com. All right, thank you for joining me and have a great day.